Hey family, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Strat here from Strategic Audio, back with a brand new music production video. Today I just want to comment on an issue that I believe a lot of us producers face, and that is originality and creativity, or more correctly, why you should always try to focus on originality and creativity. And as I go through this session that I did yesterday, I'll use that as the context to explain what I mean. So, if you're interested in this type of content, please drop the video a like and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any more of this type of video or any of the other videos that we do here on the channel. So as usual, I started with an upright piano sound using Piano Tech 8, and I'm playing in the key of G minor at 90 BPM this time. So just quickly, let's go through the basic chord structure of the composition. We start here on a G minor 7 chord, then we move to an E flat major 7 chord. We go back up to a G minor 7 chord, and here we have a little bit of a breakdown, and we go down to C minor 7, D minor 7, and again E flat major 7. Alright, so this brings me now to talk a bit about originality. So generally, in my opinion, the chord progression is the foundation of your composition, especially for soulful samples and beats, right? So when I was starting out, and to be honest, even now, even after so many years making music, I tended to try overly hard to make something that sounded like the typical or perhaps the most accepted style of the genre that I was producing in. I would ask myself, does this sound enough like what the top producers are making? The top producers? Or does this sound like something my favorite YouTube producer might make? I judged myself based on a standard style set by someone else, not understanding at the time that that person's style became big or accepted because of, one, musical quality was definitely of a high level, and two, they were doing their own thing and brought something fresh to the market that people accepted and appreciated. As a result of their ability to put their own stamp and energy out there with their music, it became a trend and others followed it until the wheels fell off and someone else brought something fresh and started a new trend. Point I'm making is this: never be afraid to simply do what comes naturally to you. Make the music that moves you and really put you into it. I understand that, as they say, there's nothing new under the sun. However, the originality comes from you. It comes from inside here. Yes, you may be using standard accepted principles that make a boom bap beat sound like an authentic boom bap beat, but at the core of that ought to be something that is uniquely you. What are you bringing to it? Not just a version of someone else's energy and ideas. Okay, let's get back to the composition. I added this Rhodes with Arturia's Stage 73 plugin just to both support and complement the main piano chords. Now again, here I want to mention that the technique that I use is common practice in this particular genre, but I did it in my way without trying to make it sound like something that a popular producer or sample maker might do or has done. The end product might actually sound close to something that's trendy or popular, but that's incidental. I'm not actively trying to fit myself into a frame, if you get what I'm saying. Alright, so next up came a live guitar melody. Okay, so let's talk here now about creativity. Everything that I can do with a guitar, I am teaching or have taught myself. That's just how my mentality has always been. I taught myself music production, mixing, mastering, recording, all of the things that I do in the studio. I taught myself, and it's been what, over 25 years doing this. Even now, after all of that, whenever there are gaps in my knowledge, technique, understanding, I use what I know to find workarounds to get where I want to get, to achieve the sound that I'm hearing in my head. Now, I'm very limited in my guitar playing, but I'm learning more and more bit by bit, day by day. As such, I may have something in my head for a guitar part that would sound cool, but it's very likely that it's too advanced for my skill level. This is where your creativity comes in, as, in my opinion, creativity is born out of limitation. So in a case like what I'm describing, in my opinion, here are your options. Number one, you can simply hire a professional guitarist to come and play what you need. While that may be ideal, it comes at a monetary cost and a time cost. If you're on a tight budget, like many of us are, you might not afford to hire a professional player. And time-wise, if the project is time-sensitive, you don't really want to be relying on someone else's schedule. Second option, you can use guitar loops. Now, you know I make and sell loops, so I'm always going to encourage going this route. However, in all honesty, it's not always easy or possible to find that perfect loop that's going to fit exactly right with the idea that you've already got going. A third option might be to use guitar VSTs, but for one, most guitar VSTs are never accurate enough to be a plausible substitute for the real thing. And number two, the few that might be tend to have restrictions on their end user license agreement that would prohibit their use for making loops and samples. I'm making loops and samples is what I do. If you're using it for just making beats, well then, you know, the electric sunburst and that kind of stuff from Native Instruments might be a great tool for you. So here's what I did. Here's the route that I took. I thought about what I was hearing in my head and considered whether I could achieve the same type of vibe, same kind of effect with something much simpler, something that I could actually play. In other words, I played what I had the skill to play and figured out how I can make that fit into the overall idea and have the same effect as what I was hearing in my head. Oftentimes what you're hearing in your head is this romanticized and idealized version of something that maybe you could achieve if you had unlimited resources, but limitation breeds creativity. And when you recognize and accept your limitations, then you have to find ways to get where you want to get within the parameters that are available to you. All right, continuing on. Next up, I grabbed Moto Bass 2 and I played this bass. Played this organ, which is basically just a mirror or maybe support for the main chord progression. Next up, I use Omnisphere to make this vocal part. So this right here is another example of what I'm getting at in this video. Normally for soul samples, the general advice that you get is to either use one of them great vocal VSTs from East West, or hire a professional vocalist, or sing the vocals yourself, which, to be fair, I've done on a number of occasions myself. Here in this instance, I went the sound design route. I guess purely is kind of a challenge, but not really a challenge. I don't know, it's difficult to say what my motivations are for this. It could be laziness for just not wanting to sing it myself, or it could be wanting to express my creativity in a particular way, using the sound design elements of Omnisphere and figuring out how do I get beyond the limitations of this VST. Now the vocals are from a preset in Omnisphere that I designed previously. Now, since it is a VST, there are obviously limitations, especially versus having someone sing it or singing it yourself. And these limitations, like I said, can really bring out your creativity in figuring out how to get around them. And that in turn can benefit your originality. So because of the limitations that I mentioned, the style that I use here with this vocal really matters. The style of play, I mean. Especially if I'm trying to achieve at least a bit of authenticity with where they sound. Now, I'm really trying to get like a background vocal feel, and I believe I've played it in a way that you might actually be able to picture vocalists standing behind the mic doing exactly what this vocal part is doing. I think I was able to use the tone of the preset in combination with the, the pattern, if you want to say, that I played it in, to create something that's believable and fits the overall vibe of the composition. Alright, so for the final melodic part of this composition, I used the BBC Symphonic Orchestra plugin from Spitfire Audio and played this simple harmony to the main progression. So I felt like I added some drums to this composition to fill it out, essentially turn it into a beat, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it a soul sample, adding live-ish sounding drums to it. Some people might say it's a full beat. Either way, it's a musical composition. Here's what I did for the drums. Alright, let's quickly summarize all that I've been trying to get across in this video. Stay true to who you are when making your beats and your samples. Make decisions based on your personality and put your true stamp on the music that you're making. It will stand out if you're really and truly honest with yourself and you put that into the music. Stay consistent with it, and over time it will resonate with a like-minded audience. As a companion idea to that, basically, I think that you should embrace your limitations and let them fuel your creativity. If you are forced to solve problems in new ways, or just in the only ways that you can, that creativity shines through. This could also be an aspect of what makes your music stand out from the crowd. As usual, thanks so much for watching, liking, and subscribing. It really means the world as I try to grow this channel. Links in the description to my free and premium loop kits and samples. Peace, and I'll see you in the next video. But first, here's the fully mixed composition.